Welcome to the Kelly Sullivan Walden Show, where we explore nighttime dreams, daytime desires, and the best ways to transform the tragic into magic. Because let's face it, we all dream, we all have our blessings, and we all have our challenges, myself included. And I don't want any of us to take any of those things lying down, if you know what I mean. I just wrote a book entitled A Crisis is a Terrible Thing to Waste. I'm excited to explore the topic with you, whether it relates to your waking or sleeping dreams, because we're dreaming all the time, people. So let's make it the best dream possible. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome.
Welcome, everyone, to the show today. I am so excited for my guest. Oh, my heavens, this woman is wonderful. In my mind, this is what I want to talk about, because normally on this show we talk a lot about dreams and kind of mind, body, spirit-esque topics. I've been talking a lot about witchcraft lately, and I want to say this. I often will talk about dreamcraft in order to lean on our dreams to do the heavy lifting of the things that we want to manifest, that we want to bring into our lives. And up until recently, I've really not leaned much on the witchcraft aspect. It's been a little bit more kind of in the shadow aspect because of the stigma. And I guess I just am codependent in that way. And maybe I have past life trauma, who knows? But one thing I discovered in reading my guest's book, Linda Murphy, welcome, Linda. I'm going to be talking about you. You might as well be on the show at this point. Welcome, Linda. In reading Linda's book, Empowerment Through Witchcraft, I learned a lot, and I'm going to take off my background. So those of you who are watching, you'll be able to see what this book actually looks like, because it's quite beautiful. It's a Llewellyn book, and you can see my little dog in the background. It's Empowerment Through Witchcraft. And
they did a great job with the cover. I take no credit for that. That's beautiful. And I take all the credit. That was beautiful. Yeah.
You and Llewellyn, and I just shout out to Kat Sanborn or Kat Neff. And anyway, so I feel like I'm having a whole new experience of witchcraft, and I'm feeling the stigma in myself reducing, and I'm feeling myself feeling much more empowered. So I am a baby in this world. So talk to me like I know nothing. But one thing I love about you right out of the gate, even in the foreword of the book, the lovely person giving the foreword talks about how educated you are and how grounded you are. So you are such a great person to be kind of a thresholder for someone like me and for others like me. Because you don't scare me. You don't overwhelm me. You take me kind of on baby steps until all of a sudden I feel quite comfortable in this cozy cauldron. And I'm like, I can do this. So thank you. Thank you for that, Linda.
Well, thank you for the compliment. You're a dream interpreter, and I do it at we're totally reversed here. I do it at a very baby step level, because a lot of people will come to the witch. What does this dream mean? Well, I don't know. There's a dream book in there, and I need to send them to you. But I will say this. A million years ago, when I was just a little baby witch, I had a dream. And I dreamed that I had gone somewhere and met the god. A year later, I was in Texas, going to Texas A&M, and I met the man who would become my high priest and my husband. I know.
Wow.
So for a dream interpreter, I followed my dream.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, in the end, for me, witchcraft isn't scary. I got, the word. In fact, early on in the editing process, I said, I'm not afraid of the word witch, and I'm not afraid of the word witchcraft, because it doesn't mean something evil. It doesn't mean something dark and negative. It means the wise men and the wise women who knew how to take the herbs and heal people and feed people and make sure they stayed healthy and ultimately attach the magic to them.
So I'm so happy you said that. So let's talk about, there's one of the things you say that really was wonderful is something about the 3 times. What you put out comes back to you at least 3 times. So I'm just going to read from this page, on page 95, energy flow. What is a spell? A spell occurs when you focus energy to achieve a desired outcome, when you use energy to cause the flow of energy around to bend to your will to create a specific reality of your choice. This is a definition from the Disney movie Halloween Town that sums up magic is simple. Decide what you want and let yourself have it. They got it right almost, paraphrasing Aleister Crowley, who I also want to talk about in a minute. Money is only a problem when you step in to count it. Okay, but there's another place in here where you talk about how, like, everything here it is. By the power of 3, 3 times 3, cause no harm to them or me, as I will, so mote it be. So basically, no harm to anyone. So that's, I think the stigma is like, like, all I want is for me to be okay, my pretty.
And I don't care who gets hurt for that. Yeah. And I start that chapter with a simple statement. What do witches do? We cast spells. Everyone knows that, and that's why people are afraid of us, because they know we cast spells. What they don't get, and this is part of the evolution, everyone starts off in witchcraft, whether they're doing it as a religion or they're doing it as a practice. Everyone starts off with, I'm going to empower myself by casting spells. And one of the things you look for as you get more advanced is, do they get over it? And the ones, and I caution many a student through the years, don't cast a love spell you'll wish you had. And I had quite a few come to me and say, boy, were you right? And I said, we all make that mistake. We all do. And over time you learn, and this is a great witchcraft quote, the most important spell you ever cast is the one that develops you. So all your spells should be focused on what gives, yes, I want my reality to be a certain way, but let me cast a spell that changes me so that I fit the reality around me. It's a very Taoist attitude. Instead of changing the course of the river, let me fit the river and flow with it.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
You learn it early when you start practicing, hopefully.
So I want to weave a little bit, just for people who follow me, who are typically focused on dreams. I want to kind of like find our way into the centerpiece where these two come together. So years ago, there was someone who sent me a question. He said that he's a very powerful dreamer, and there's a woman that he meets with in his lucid dreaming that he's madly in love with, and he has these wonderful experiences in his lucid dream, and she's an actual person in waking life who in waking life isn't interested at all. And he said, I have a feeling that I could convince her to love me. And how what do you think about that? Like, because I'm such a powerful dreamer, lucid dreamer, I know on some level I'm connecting with her and her spirit, whether she knows it in waking life or not. And I was like, danger, stop.
See, you warn people too. You're going to wish you hadn't, I promise.
Maybe as babies, we have to explore, like, I could punch your lights out. I can make this. I can do these things like a baby rattlesnake. Most dangerous. But like you said, if you do that manipulation to get somebody against their will to love you or to give you something or whatever it is, then you must be the one to keep that going forevermore.
Yeah.
It's not like one and done, right? So please
No,
speak to that.
it isn't. And love spells are one of the big traps. And I say it just that way in the book, love and money spells.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you can cast a love spell and they'll be all about you. And then one of two things is going to happen. One is you get over it, but they don't. And you have to do
Oh,
something to make them go away. And that's not fun. The other one
right.
is you want them to stay, but you wind up casting it constantly. And at some point, they figure out that you cast a spell to manipulate them, and then they go from love to hate very quickly because,
Right.
they're a trap. And the best thing to do, and I state it this way in the book, the best thing to do is, I believe I deserve to be loved.
There you go. Right. So that's where the work resides, is in
That's
that
where the work
deservability. Because somebody who would want to manipulate to get somebody to love them or to get some money from some place that isn't a willing conduit, underneath that is some distrust of
there
the
is
well-being of the universe and some sense of like there's an innate something wrong with me
with
that
me.
I won't get these things. Right. So
I
like
agree. You get it. That's just it. I need more money. I deserve to be paid for the work that I do.
right. Yeah.
It's energy flow. It's the money will flow to me once I truly believe I deserve it.
So tell me what you think of this. Sometimes, I mean, I think in kind of cartoon images. It's the way my brain works. And so I think sometimes of like the things that I want or the things that my clients want as a certain wattage light bulb. Like,
Absolutely.
so say we're hanging out at 100 watts, which is pretty good, but what we want is 1,000 watts. In order for us to match that vibration, then we have to do the work to be able to maintain a higher vibration so that we can handle 1,000 watts. And then whatever matches us there will find us or come to us. And
Flow
so,
into you.
does any of that resonate?
It actually does. And this is where people who do what you do, people who do what I do, in the end, we're all speaking the same language.
I think so. Yeah.
It's about energy flow. You interpret dreams. You spend a lot of time in the dream world. And I do talk about many of the messages you need are going to come to you in your dreams. And people write off their dreams. So I always suggest before you cast a big spell that would raise my wattage, there's a wonderful meme that went around where a house out in the country is just glowing. And it says, me when I meditate, and that's how I feel.
Wow.
I suggest to people, meditate and be open to your dreamscape. See what your dreams are telling you. People write off dreams way too quickly. And they need to learn the difference between, that's a dream where I'm just getting rid of my stuff. That's a lucid dream. Okay, now I'm astral traveling and I'm learning stuff.
Yes.
They need to learn the difference. But if I was going to raise my wattage like that, the first question I'd ask is, do I really want to? Because you raise your wattage and you're going to draw things to you. Moths are attracted to the light. And sometimes that's exactly what you want to have happen. Sometimes, and I can think of an incident in a seminar I took with some ceremonial mages where we raised the wattage through the roof. And it did draw some people. It did. And they were practicing a very dangerous form of magic. And in the end, we had to make sure they went away because they were bringing it to this sacred space that we were using. Because the wattage was just so high. How could you ignore it? If I was when I'm a magical practitioner, which I am,
Yeah.
I'm going to automatically draw to the brightest spot.
Right.
You know, so the first question is, should I? And that's where I think dreams become very important. Meditate, set up a dreamscape so that you can get an answer. And usually
Yes.
what talks to you is your higher self.
Oh, so good. I often say the brighter the light, the bigger the bugs.
There, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And in some way, I mean, I don't know, but I think and maybe I need to rethink this, but when I think about it, like, aren't we here to shine? Aren't we here to come into that so that those bugs, maybe the bugs can then be inspired to shine, or the bugs can be inspired to go somewhere else? Or, I mean, is the answer then to, I mean, maybe sometimes, I know for me, sometimes I just need to hunker down and like call in the light and not be external. But just because of the big bugs out there, should that be the reason that we shy away from stepping into our light?
No. And here's the way I view it. And I have said this twice as I was leaving one area to go to another. If I leave and there is only one bright light left here, then I've done my job. And both times it happened, there was one beautiful bright light in both places that I left behind. You have to draw all the bugs. You get to be an expert at swatting the ones that don't need to be there.
Right.
And that's not spell casting. That's just, sometimes my familiars do it for me. They're
God
like,
bless them.
okay, this
Right,
person needs to go away. And that person, and the cat, will always talk to me. And that person never comes back, and I didn't have to do a thing.
Ooh. There's on chapter, let me see, this is on page 153. You talk about finding the deity within yourself. So the priest and priestess hand out cakes and wine at the end of a Wiccan rite. They traditionally say the words, "Thou art goddess, thou art God." It's this recognition that each person embodies deity within themselves. If we all contain deity, why do Wiccans use so many different God forms during rituals? We're all trying to reach a state of greater spiritual perfection or enlightenment. So there's so much more that you say. So anything that calls you to about that?
That's one of the, and I can't go too deeply in it because some of this is secret, but during the initiation process,
yes,
one of the things you do is seek your patron deity. And what I used to tell people is, in the end, that is you at your very finest. When I step into that role and I call my magical name, I am me at the very best I can be. And I often think of Jesus at that. He could not be that God being 24/7. He needed a break. He needed to eat and take a nap.
Right.
None of us, the physical body can't be in that space all the time. It won't take it. So once you really start connecting to the deity within yourself, you begin to touch a part of yourself that is truly strong and powerful, you at your very finest. But you can't be that all the time. Otherwise, the bank account would never get balanced and groceries would never get bought.
Oh, isn't that
Sometimes
interesting?
you just have to be a person.
Isn't that interesting? My husband and I were just talking the other day. We both kind of found ourselves having a mutual fascination for an East Indian saint named Anandamayama, who was pretty contemporary.
Yeah.
Are you? And
familiar. I won't say I know it well, but yes, I'm aware.
Well, the story of her coming into her light is that she kind of refused to get off the kitchen floor until she embodied all the light, and she did. But then she had to be dressed by other people. She had to be fed by other people. She couldn't, so the payoff is that she got to be this bright light. And so many people felt the unconditional love of the mother that they had never experienced on the human level before. And the sacrifice was that she couldn't tend to herself. So I think what you just said is so, so important, because it dignifies those places where we do recess, where we do kind of come back. That those moments aren't bad and wrong. We need that so that we can pay the bills and do those very ordinary, mundane things.
And then when I go to the light, when I'm really strong in that space,
Mm-hmm.
I know that I've set everything up so that my kiddies will get fed, and my great nephews and my great niece will get what they need out of life from their beautiful parents. You know, that everything is rolling as it should. So I'm going to be gone for about 2 weeks. I'm there, but I'm not, you know?
Ooh, yeah.
So I haven't hit the state that lady has. You know, I haven't.
We also don't have that designated person that's going to devote their entire life to feeding
caring
us.
for us.
If we had that, we might be like, maybe I could spend a little more time there.
Maybe.
Okay, so we're kind of jumping ahead, or I'm jumping ahead, but what I was really intrigued by, what you call the first degree and then the second degree in here. And so I really want to talk about what's in the second degree. But so in order to understand that, let's first talk about what you mean by first degree and then go into that.
And there are lots of groups and covens that don't follow the traditional system. I came up through the very traditional Gardnerian. You're a dedicant for a year and a day, then you do your first degree, and that runs usually about a year. And during that time, and that to me is one of the most important, because, well, during that time you learn the basics, how to cast a circle, how to summon a deity, your herbs. I always call it, remember, Herbal 101, how to use herbs as food, medicine, and magic. You spend a lot of time doing just the basics during that time. But at the end of it, there is a rite that goes with it. And I do kind of stand that the rites are secret. They're not filled with sex and violence. But they're
blood and guts and
yeah, it's not that. But there is a sacredness to them that honors the person who is doing it. And that's why we tend to keep it a little bit on the secret side. But
right, of course,
at the end of that, the new first degree witch is definitely welcomed by the coven circle as a witch. But they have a big decision to make. Do I go further?
Ooh.
And I have performed the first degree rites for several people who knew they would not go further than that, but they wanted to go that far so that they could understand something, usually because they were partnered with someone who was Wiccan, who was a witch, and they thought, let me get the basics. So they make a big decision, because the walk through second degree is not that much fun. The walk through first degree is a lot of fun.
Okay.
And I told one second degree candidate at one point, I said, I promise you, magic will be fun again. Second degree is embracing your shadow self.
Right.
It's embracing the darkness within and learning how to use it. And I always say, sometimes our greatest strength comes from our darkest places. Those moments, those moments in life when you had to turn to everything you had just to survive that situation and be willing to do whatever it took. to survive that situation. So, but you can't do that if you haven't embraced it, if you don't accept it as part of who you are.
Right.
And once you've done that, you find out that you're in control of it. It's not in control of you. So second degree is a dark journey.
But that sounds like this is where we have so much alignment, and in everything that you've said, there's alignment. But I've gotten very good at working with people in their nightmares, because mostly people don't seek out a professional to help them if they're having a bunch of unicorn dreams.
They feel, yeah, unicorns, yay.
Yeah,
and they're having nightmares. They seek out someone who can help them. And they want to be rescued. And I'm sure you encounter that. You're not there to rescue them.
No, but it tends to be like the work that I do is so much about, I mean, a nightmare reveals our shadow. It reveals, it only is only a nightmare because, or it's only a shadow is because it's something that we are putting outside of ourselves. And it comes seeking us because the parts of ourselves refuse to be ignored. They want to be incorporated. And always there is great empowerment on the other side of it. What seems like the worst thing in the world becomes the best thing. I mean, one of the most, an initiatory dream of mine was this albino cyclops lumberjack that was chasing me through the woods in my dream. And I was like, there's no way this is good. There is no way this is a part of myself. No way. I'm hiding and screaming and crying. And then when I was able to work with the dream, I realized that he was chopping at energy around me, not
clearing
me.
Your path.
He was an ally. He was a total ally. He had this eye in the middle of his forehead because he was single-minded focused. It was his third eye. He was trying to help me, and he was the masculine part of me that I had suppressed, my anger, my strength. So, and he was albino because he hadn't seen the sun in a long time. So he just looked kind of peaked. He'd been hiding in the closet. So he came out with a vengeance. So I now feel so empowered when I think about him. I don't want him to run the show of my life, but he's a part of me that gives me grounding and strength.
And strength when you need it.
And discernment.
I go to a very Native Indian totemic place about it. The scariest part of me, and that this is something that you don't just shout out over the internet. The scariest part of me is not my personal totem. It's my protector totem. Feeds on my personal totem out there in real life. But there have been times when, okay, I need to feed on this situation. I know what I'm bringing up now. So I get it, the scary parts of us. I have scared a person or two. Mostly just, and I know you know this. I know everyone who sees this will know this. It's that suggestion thing. One day I turned to someone and I said, you just hacked off the wrong witch. And that's all I had to do. You just walk away. There's no spell casting. There's no shadow work in that. You just give them a look. And I know you know this. Give them a look. You just hacked off the wrong dream interpreter, because they grant so much power. But that's a part of your shadow self, that scary part of you that, they should be scared of. They should be scared of that part of you, Kelly, because that part of you has a strength that Kelly be bopping through life doesn't always access,
Correct. Yeah, because I haven't gotten the love and kudos from that side of me. That part of me has not gotten any love. No. And so I've demonized it, but it isn't. So the second degree rights, I have so much admiration. It's not like the second degree rights are now about like harming anybody. I mean, it's the ultimate in self-love that leads to love on the planet, so that we bring a pure, a cleaner vessel.
It is. And those are the people who have those nightmares that you are familiar with. They're working through some stuff.
Yeah. I like to think of those as initiation
And
opportunities.
it's
So
exactly what they are. That's exactly what they are. Again, we all speak the same language. You've got
yeah,
to embrace that part of yourself to access the fullness of who you are.
yes. I just am so loving communicating with you, Linda, because
Well,
you
thank you.
have
This
this,
is a
you
treat.
just as the introduction or the forward of your book, then talking about how grounded you are, and you've got all these PhDs, and you teach like in the world, and you are hilarious, and you've got great hair, and
Well,
all
thank you.
all of this stuff. Let me just, as we're starting to wind down, I'm going to go kind of backwards to the beginning. Um, I love that you talk about the different cycles and like cycles of the moon. You talk about the wheel of life. Is it the wheel of
Wheel
life?
of the year. Wheel of the
The wheel
year.
of the year,
It's
and
based
all
on
of
old agricultural cycles.
right. So this is what you do when I think about dreamifesting, using our dream work to set those strong intentions before we go to sleep, so that we can, our subconscious mind can align to that and we can go forth. I was just thinking, well, this is a perfect tie-in of all of the seasons of the year and all of the cycles of the moon. So let's just start with the seasons of the year and those sacred times of the year. What do you think is the best time for dreamifesting or manifesting? Um,
That's an easy question.
okay,
January, because
right.
you've got a newborn infant, a new dream, and you're
Yes,
nurturing. So dream. And the other one then, of course, would be not October, but from Samhain or Halloween,
right.
November, as you begin to
Mm.
approach the birth of the new dream at the winter solstice.
Oh,
So
that is so
those are
fabulous.
times to dream. You start the dream at Samhain, absolutely, because you're looking for what comes next. What do I need to
Mm.
do this year? You started in, but you're going to have a little bit of a break in November.
That's
And
great.
then you
So by the
start
time
gearing
by the
up for the
time this
winter
comes
solstice.
out, it'll be maybe sometime in February. So the next one to look forward to, the next time that is also, would that be more the equinox then? Would that be more?
It would be the spring equinox.
Okay,
Ostara, which most,
Astara.
yeah, isn't that beautiful?
Yes. Yeah.
But because we're about to celebrate Imbolc on
Hmm.
February 1st, 2nd, is a
Okay.
celebration. It actually is a celebration of the dream you've just been dreaming.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, I love that perspective. That's wonderful. Okay, so because the cycles and the waning and waxing of the moon and the tides, those happen monthly.
Yeah.
Um, so is it the new moon that is the best time, except during Mercury retrograde? So say
Thank
something
you.
about that.
I
Yeah,
always
yeah,
warn
yeah.
people, don't do things during, I do tarot readings. I said, but I won't read during Mercury retrograde, because why don't you just invite the trickster in to mess with you? You know,
Wow. Oh my God.
you know. So the best time to dream, I would set up a dream state during actually the dark moon, set it in motion, and then dream for the next 3 or 4 days during the new moon phase. And that way you're beginning to see what you need to be working on.
Mm.
People are always so sure they know what they want. They know what they want. They don't necessarily know what they need.
Ooh,
And I
nice. Oh
know
God,
you
that's true.
encounter that a lot.
Absolutely. What's on the surface, white picket fence, the handsome or beautiful part, blah, but underneath it's like the soul is like, I just want us to grow and
Yeah.
find some light, and it's going to take a little rattling the cage to do that. So here we go.
Yeah. But set it up the night of the dark moon, which I say in the book is the most dangerous of it. So tread lightly, but set up, I want to dream about what I need. And then over the next few days during the actual new moon phase,
Why is it dangerous?
because it's connected to the crone. And the crone, I'm going to quote Teutonic lore. And all the Asatru who see this, they've heard this. Um, the most powerful person in those clans was the aged crone, because she would decide who lived and who died. She was the one who picked the maiden to go out with the chieftain who had died on his boat to die with him when they did the flaming arrow. She was one of the scariest. She was the scariest person. And I've had some friends who were asked the truth through the years, and they're like, yep, that old crone. Because once you hit that phase in life, and I'm perilously close to that phase in life and death begin to mean different things.
Yes.
You know, death isn't, you're not necessarily ready to die and don't want to kill people, but it ceases to be so frightening. There comes a moment when it's time. And I have friends of all ages, and I look at the little young ones and I go, your adventure just got started. But some of my older friends in their late 80s and 90s, the adventure this time around is coming to a close, and they're not scared.
Right.
So when you're dealing with the dark moon, you're dealing with an energy that sees life and death a little differently. So be careful how you phrase things. Because if you go, I'll die to have this, you might.
Right.
Because they see things a little differently. Or I'll kill to have this. Okay. You might. You know, so the dark moon, which is really only one night, phrase it properly, you know?
Oh, this is so important. I love all of this that you said. I mean, it seems like the crone energy from a dream perspective. I got this from Carl Jung. Everyone and everything is a part of ourselves. So there's a crone in all of us.
Absolutely.
And even I think it was Clarissa Pinkola Estes who wrote about the frightening old woman or the terrifying, and it's only because she doesn't give a bleep about the things of the ego and about pleasing everybody. So dangerous, the dangerous old woman, that's only dangerous because the things of the ego don't mean diddly
anymore. And the male version in my tradition, we call the sage. Same thing.
Right.
And I have been so privileged to sit with sages and crones when I was younger, and I could see, oh, they don't care. They really
care, but they don't care about the things of the ego. They just,
and I say that in the book. They care deeply, but they care about you, not your ego. They care that you continue to grow and advance, not your ego. So when you're discussing them and when you're working on a dark moon, be aware. Okay, I'll teach your ego a lesson.
Right, in order to get you what you really want, which is what your soul came here to do. So we've already gone past the time I thought we were going to go, but you're so fascinating. I kind of don't want to let you go.
Thank
but
you, Kelly.
I want to ask
I
little
love
bit of a
talking
scary
to people like you.
Oh my goodness, I'm in heaven with you. Heaven on earth. So I have a stigma from way back when I was young. The name Aleister Crowley gives me the goosies. Like, what isn't so and I'm open and I would love to hear from your perspective because you've got me. You're a sister of my soul.
Thank you.
I remember it was an old boyfriend of mine, one of my first boyfriends, who was kind of into some darker stuff, some dark magic, and it got a little spooky, and it felt like it got a little out of control. And Aleister Crowley and the tarot, his version of the tarot was kind of a part of all that. So I kind of mixed it all up in a bag. So I'd love to hear your take on Aleister Crowley.
I have worked with a lot of ceremonial mages, and you're going to find quite a few along the way who have that same golden dawn attitude about Papa Crowley.
Golden Dawn, you mean the they worship him, or they
don't. Crowley did some things during the course of his lifetime because he felt magic belonged to everybody. And so he did some things that some of the more formal groups didn't trust. Basically, he revealed a lot of their rituals because he felt like magic belonged to everybody. Now, one of the guiding rules he had was if they understand it. He didn't believe you should protect people from their own stupidity. They should study, they should learn, they should do yoga. He was big into dream interpretation. Learn what you're doing. And he's often quoted with, do what thou will is, the whole of the law. That's only half the quote. Do what thou will is the whole of the law. The law is sacred to you. He wanted people to understand it, but he had no tolerance for fools. And if you weren't going to do the work, why are you taking up his time? So you get a lot of negatives about him. But an early ceremonial practitioner that I worked with didn't have a negative attitude. And he put some wonderful books in my hand. And people start with Crowley's 777 and Magic and Theory and Practice. I'm going to recommend read Magic Without Tears.
Magic Without Tears.
It's a series of letters between him and some of his students who were out there doing the work, really working toward enlightenment. And it's very revealing of how much he did genuinely love them. But he didn't suffer a fool gladly. And if you weren't willing to do the work, then get out of his way. So,
well, I'm so glad I asked. I am so glad.
Thank you for asking.
It seems like I'm drawing more. I mean, the name has been showing up so often, and I think my ego feels a little dumb that I don't know more than I do. I really don't. So I'm getting a whole infusion from you that I didn't have before. So I just so appreciate you.
You might really enjoy Magic in Theory and Practice. Magic Without Tears.
Magic Without Tears.
You might really enjoy it.
I'm getting it today. As soon as we jump off, first thing I
believe
do.
Llewellyn carries.
What do you know? Llewellyn, you always send the best things and the best people, and you are amazing. Linda Murphy.
You're a treat.
I'm so glad. I want to meet you in person and give you a big hug one of these days, not just
wonderful.
Virtual, but I'm grateful that the virtual world could bring us together. We're kind of like, the virtual world is a little witchy. I mean, here you are. You're like way across the country.
It's an alternate reality.
It is. Thank you so much for your wisdom, for your groundedness, for your humor, for your hair and your flair, for all things magic with a CK. And people can find you. Oh God, let's tell people how they can find you they can. Yes, best way.
I have an internet page, magicoftheweek.com. Spell it
and
CK.
It's magic CK.
Of the week. Yeah, Magic CK, magicoftheweek.com. And then on Facebook under my name, Linda Murphy. And I also have a Facebook page called Magic of the Week.
Magic of the Week. I'm kind of
stuck with that one.
I like it. See, it's practical. It's kind of like, here you go. This is what you got today. So we can join if we prove ourselves worthy to be a part of that Facebook page.
It's not a group. It's a page. You can follow.
Okay.
And if you send me a message, I always answer.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And if you comment on something on my website, I always answer.
Linda Murphy, a fellow Irish lass, I so appreciate you and your wonderful wisdom and all the magic with a CK that you bring. And thanks for connecting us with dreams as well. All right. Well, thank you for
Linda.
The
work you do in dreams. People need it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Is it time for me to hit close?
I'll do it. All right. And until we all meet again, don't take your dreams lying down. Sweet dreams.
Thank you for listening to the Kelly Sullivan Walden Show. If you enjoyed this episode, take a moment to like, subscribe, comment, and share it with your friends. My show can be found on Apple iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to order my new book, A Crisis is a Terrible Thing to Waste, go to your favorite online or brick and mortar retailer, then head on over to kellysullivanwalden.com/tragic2magic. Input your order number and redeem your bonus gifts. I'm also excited to be offering a DreamWork practitioner training. So if that calls to you, go to kellysullivanwalden.com/DreamWork. If you'd like to join me for the live recording of these shows, most Wednesdays at noon Pacific, you can find me on Facebook at Kelly Sullivan Walden Dreams. If you have a question about your dreams or about how to transform your tragic into magic, email me at kelly@kellysullivanwalden.com. Until next time, remember, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. And as you awaken to the power of your dreams, you make the world a lighter, brighter, more beautiful place, one dream at a time. Sweet dreams.